everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be a haul video, and it's been a long time since I've done one of those. I've done a couple over on Patreon recently, but none of them have been as big or perhaps as odd as this one. Today's video is a haul of vintage patterns, specifically vintage patterns I purchased in large lots on eBay. Now, I feel like ordering lots of dozens of patterns on eBay is kind of a strange thing to do, and that I need to justify myself a little bit here. So let me give some backstory before I get into the hauling. Back in April, I had some money set aside to spend on my birthday shopping trip in the garment district. But then there were some little issues with something called coronavirus that made that impossible. So I decided to take that money and take my birthday and spend that day shopping online. And one of the things I really gravitated towards were vintage patterns, because I love vintage patterns. I like following them, I like the designs of them, I like the aesthetics of them, and they're just something I really enjoyed browsing and looking through all the different designs. So for my birthday, I ended up purchasing probably 24 patterns that I'd selected individually and ordered separately. I had so much fun doing that I didn't stop browsing after my birthday ended. In fact, I made a few bookmarks on Etsy and eBay so I could easily check the new results for vintage patterns and my size. And in doing this, I came across some lots. So it started with me purchasing a lot of 5 patterns when I only wanted 1 of them. And then I bought a lot of 10 patterns when I only wanted 2 of them. But it was okay because those 2 patterns were worth the expense of the price of the lot, even though I didn't want those extra patterns. So I decided to sell those extra patterns on Instagram, and it turns out I really enjoy the process. I find it really therapeutic going through patterns and documenting the condition and counting the pieces, and just getting to spend some time with a little piece of history that's still usable and functional. I enjoyed it so much, in fact, that when I was browsing Etsy the other day, I purchased a lot of 90 patterns. And that lot has not come yet, but I felt very committed to this process of buying lots of patterns and reselling them. So I ended up finding some similar lots on eBay, and I ended up winning the auctions for them. In this particular video, I'm planning on sharing a very expensive lot that I purchased, which I mainly paid for because there were some patterns I was really interested in personally, as well as another much more affordable lot that I purchased, which I'm planning on selling the majority of. The way this usually works is that the lots are either coming out of personal collections or estates where someone doesn't have the knowledge or the time to count the pieces. So instead of listing the patterns individually and potentially making more money, they list them in these large lots of 30 or 60 or 100, or even I've seen some that are 300 patterns. Since there isn't the guarantee of the patterns being complete, and since they tend to be in a variety of sizes, a lot of individuals, like previously myself, wouldn't really be interested in them. This means that they tend to go for much less than the individual patterns are worth. So you can buy those lots, count the pieces, document the condition, photograph the patterns, and list them separately and make a decent amount of money. But it's also a lot of work. However, as we've already established, that's work that I really enjoy doing and I really find therapeutic. So it's a really nice way for me to get the joy out of vintage sewing patterns without having them take up space in my house or provide the pressure on me to actually construct them. So I do plan on constructing more in the future, don't get me wrong. So since I enjoy this process so much, I've decided to jump right into it and buy several hundred on eBay throughout several lots and open up a little Etsy store. I also have a corresponding Instagram account where I'll be posting, hopefully, daily photos of patterns from my collection as well as patterns that I'm planning on selling. Every pattern is going to be counted by me and the collection of patterns is curated by me. So the Instagram account is called Counted and Curated, as is the Etsy store, and they'll be both linked down below. This isn't going to take away from the quantity of videos I'm producing or the amount of content I'm making over on Patreon. This really is just something that I'm passionate about and enjoy as a hobby, and to allow that hobby to continue, I need to be consistently selling those patterns to fund buying new ones, and so on and so forth. So it's just something I'm going to be doing in my spare time, but if you're interested, I'd really appreciate you checking out those accounts and potentially following them. Also, since this is something I'm hopefully going to be doing for a little while in the future, if you'd like to see more videos hauling the various patterns I purchased prior to packaging them up and shipping them out, then let me know, because I would definitely love to do more content like this. I really enjoy talking about the patterns and getting to share them with anyone who's interested in them. So that is all I have to say for now. I'm going to get right into the haul portion of this video, and I really hope that you enjoy. So this was a really expensive lot. As I'm sure I said earlier, I don't even want to talk about how much I paid for this. But the reason I was willing to pay such a premium for it is because a lot of the patterns looked very old, like from the 1930s, and they also looked quite rare. There were some evening dress patterns in there that I hadn't seen before. It was also a lot with larger sizes, so the majority of them were 16, 18, or 20, which means I could potentially keep the patterns that I was most attracted to for myself. So that meant in the case of maybe 5 of these patterns, I was willing to invest the price I would actually pay for them individually, which for me is about $30 for patterns of that rarity, which is still probably half of what some of them are technically worth. So that way I was already getting like half of my investment back if you viewed it as me purchasing those patterns individually, and there would still be 25 patterns to sell. So hopefully I can make my money back on this lot because it was very, very expensive, but I don't think I'm going to regret spending that much just because there are some real gems in here that I'm excited to have in my stash. This did come with a note, which I've already opened. It was very sweet. And then it came wrapped like this, which is also very sweet. I guess when you spend several $100s on a pattern lot, this is the type of quality you get in terms of packaging. But at the end of the day, who really cares about packaging? Let's open this guy up. So here's the first peek at our treasures, and let's just get these dumped out. So I'm gonna start just by pushing the majority of these to the side, and then we'll take them out one by one and look at them. So this is the first one, and this is a size 14 Simplicity printed pattern for a 32-inch bust. And this is a really cute two-piece suit with a peplum waist. I actually really like this design, but suit patterns aren't ones that I tend to keep for myself just because I don't have a lot of occasions that require me to wear suits. And this seems to be in okay condition, but none of these have been counted, so I really don't know what the condition is going to be like in terms of the pieces and the instructions until I get it opened myself. Here we have one that I am highly tempted to keep because it's a Hollywood pattern, and Hollywood patterns are my favorite brand. It's a really nice, I would say, early 40s design. It's got a little bit of this ruching at the waist that creates this fall at the front, and then it's got more ruching at the neckline to create this really high boat neckline. And this is in a size 20, which is my size in Hollywood patterns. I usually have to take in the waist a little bit with this size, but it is made for 41-inch hips, so I don't have to make too many alterations to the lower half, which is always nice. And this looks like it's in really good condition. I wouldn't be surprised if this is factory folded. I do want to sell enough of this lot that I make my investment back, but this is one that I'd be tempted to keep, as I said. It's very cute and very unique. This one is also a size 14, and this is for a Simplicity dress. I actually really like this design. If this was a larger size, I would definitely keep it. It's got the dolman sleeves, which I find incredibly flattering. I think they're more flattering than cap sleeves or sleeveless dresses, and they're also very low effort because it's just the arm side that extends over the shoulder, so you don't have to insert a sleeve. And I think the way this goes over the bust and how you can play with different directions of stripes with it is darling. But a 32-inch bust is a little bit small for me, even when I alter it. I tend to have to make shoulder adjustments for patterns that size, which I don't really like doing. So this one I'll probably pass on, but very, very cute. This is an advanced pattern in a size 12, so it's for a 30-inch bust. I love this design. It has a ruched bust. I'd say this is probably early 50s and made for prom or for kind of a teen girl dance. And that actually also has ruching at the bottom, which creates these draped effect at the hem. So that is really, really cute. The envelope is heavily taped and it definitely feels puffy, like it's been unfolded and used before. So we'll have to see about the condition of that, but how cute is that design? This one is a size 10, so I'm definitely not keeping it, but another really cute design. Very like a va-va-voom kind of bombshell super fitted jumper with this long sleeve blouse underneath it. I really like that design. I like how the darts in the bodice turn into these pockets over the hips. This one doesn't look to me in great shape though, so we'll have to see if all of the pieces are there. This one is in a size 11. I know I said this lot was mostly larger sizes, but maybe the ones I was interested in keeping for myself were just larger sizes. This one is made for a 29-inch bust. However, again, it's a really, really pretty pattern. It's got the dolman sleeves, and it actually has an elbow-length dolman sleeve option. And then it scoops up at the waist, which is really flattering, and it's got pleating at the front of the waist. And I like this pattern because this is quite dressy looking, the materials they've made it up in, but you could also shorten this and do it from a cotton and just have it be a really sweet summer dress. And this one feels like it might be factory folded. These are two of the ones I definitely zeroed in on when I was looking at this lot. They are both Vogue patterns, which is probably my second favorite vintage brand. It is a 1930s pattern if I had to guess. And it's got a few different options. So you can make this with an open front and a ruffled underskirt and a collar with buttons down the front, or you can make it without a collar with buttons down the front, or it looks like there's even an option to have kind of a ruched front to make the neckline more modest. And I love the puffed sleeves for this, and I love the shorter length as well as how you can make a longer evening gown length. I felt like this would be really fun for a series where I try and recreate the pictures on the envelopes. Actually making this out of a black lace and trying to do an exact replica I think would be awesome. And these, there's some damage to the envelope, but they feel really sturdy and like they might be factory folded. And they're in a size 18, so they're made for 36-inch bust and 39-inch hips, so I wouldn't really have to make any alterations to them. This is same brand, same size, approximately same era, and again, it's an evening dress with options, so you can make this really sweet little blouse to go underneath it to have it be more modest, or you can make it without that and have it be more of an evening style dress. Once again, I thought this would be really fun to try and get a striped silk and trying to get a kind of off-white organza or lightweight cotton and do a replica and try and recreate this pattern cover because I love it so much. So those are two I will definitely be keeping, and part of the reason I was willing to pay so much for this lot. Those individually would probably go for about $40 or $50 on Etsy. This is an interesting design. So this is probably from the early 50s. I'm just going off the fonts. These will probably have copyright dates on them. I'm just not going to spend the time searching for them in this video. And again, this has a really interesting kind of themed pocket incorporated in it. It also has a zip down the front, which you don't usually see, and what looks like a mandarin style collar. It has a long sleeve and an elbow length option, and it doesn't have a waist seam. So it goes completely from the shoulders to the hem and then is just fitted with side seams and darts. So that's a very interesting design, but not one that I'm personally compelled to keep. Another really sweet summer dress design from Simplicity. Not a lot to say about this. It does have a gathered skirt, which is kind of unusual for this period. And then it's got a pieced bodice and more dolman sleeves. Looks like it would be really easy and fun to make, but a size 32. Not a super unique design, so probably one I will pass on. But the condition of this feels really great. It feels like it might be factory folded in there. Ooh, this is one I will definitely be tempted to keep. I'm such a sucker for prints that you can play with stripe directions on, and I'm also a sucker for patterns with long sleeve options. However, this appears to have a pleated skirt, and I don't really like pleated skirts in my wardrobe because they take ironing, and also they usually require alterations in the hips to fit me, and that can be kind of complicated when you're dealing with pleats. But I do love this pattern, so we'll see if I end up keeping it or not. But it looks like this has almost an epaulette design and a fitted shoulder at the back, and then the front of the shoulder is actually gathered to provide volume over the bust. And I love the sleeves that seem to have an inverted box pleat. I think that's really interesting. And it looks, or it feels like it might be factory folded, and it's in pretty good condition. And yeah, I really like that. I like that a lot more than I was expecting to. And it's a size 16, so it's for a 34-inch bust. So it will fit me with a few little tweaks, which is nice. This is a McCall's pattern, and this is another one I'm going to be highly tempted to keep. So again, this is really interesting in that it doesn't have a waist seam. Instead, the panels go fully from the shoulder to the hem. I have an Ann Adams pattern I followed with similar seaming, and though I usually like a waist seam because I find that's more flattering on me, I do find when you have these heavily pieced and really long line dresses, it tends to kind of lengthen your form, and it can still be paired with a belt and look really, really flattering. And it's in a size 20, so it's for a 38-inch bust, which is really just awesome. That's rare to see, and it's nice that I wouldn't have to make a hip alteration to all of these many panels. And again, it has dolman sleeves, which I find to be really flattering and nice, though this does appear to be drafted for the longer sleeves, and I tend to like a shorter sleeve dress. But that's a really unique pattern. I really like that one. And this one does have a counting sheet, and it says there are 12 pieces out of 13, and that's missing, I can't read the writing, but it's missing a piece, I guess. Here we have a mail order pattern in a size 14. This is a late 1930s design, I would say. It's got a little bit of ruching over the shoulder and under the bust, and it's a sweet design, but not one that I'm super attached to, I don't think. But the paper looks to be in good condition, so hopefully all of the pieces are there. This is such a fun pattern. This is a McCall's pattern in a size 14. I love this. You get a sheath dress pattern, and then you also get this overdress pattern. So I gather you can wear them together, or you can wear the overdress on its own. And what a darling pairing. I love this lady on the front's attitude and pose, and it just makes me smile and it makes me want to be her. This is a 14, so it's for a 32-inch bust, so I'll be passing it along for that reason, but I hope this goes to a good home because it's a really fun pattern. This is the third Vogue pattern from the early 40s for a full-length gown. This again is size 18, and I think this is going to be the third candidate for that series where I recreate the cover patterns. I love this. I can just see it being made out of a blue velvet, which would be a pain in the butt, but so gorgeous. I don't know if you can tell from the front illustration, but it's actually really interesting how this is pieced. It's got kind of a cutout at the waist, and that's where the side front panel is inserted. So the construction is kind of similar to dresses from the 1940s that you would wear during the day, but it's applied to an evening gown, which I think is really interesting. This is probably one of my favorite suit patterns that I've seen. This is a Simplicity pattern with a side closure with buttons down the side and a bow at the front, and that has a little jacket that is shaped with tucks that align with tucks on the skirt. So I think that's a really nice combo. That would be absolutely beautiful if you had a job that required you to wear suits or something a little bit more dressed up, but you want something appropriate for the summer too. This is an advanced pattern. There's lots of text on this. I'll probably go through and try and make out the cursive at some point because I think it's interesting. It does feel like either a lot of the pieces are missing or it's still factory folded. It's a very slim feeling pattern, and this is not a design that I personally care for. I don't think dropped waist patterns are particularly flattering, but it is very interesting and unique for that reason. It's not a silhouette you usually see from this period, and it's shaped with gathers underneath the bust. So this would definitely look lovely on someone, specifically someone who's quite slim, I would say. Someone who looks really nice in clothing from the 1920s could pull off a pattern like this beautifully, but I'm not that person. So even though this is in a size 18, it will be getting passed on. This is a really cute pattern. It's a side button dress, and this is an advanced pattern, again, probably from the late 30s, early 40s, I would say, and it closes with buttons down the side, and it's got this bow at the hip that has fabric falling from it. This feels like it's in pretty good shape. The envelope's in pretty good shape, so hopefully all the pieces are there. I just don't have an occasion to wear a dress like this, and the design isn't inspiring enough for me to keep it anyways. I'm also not a fan of following advanced patterns, so even though it's a size 18, it'll be passed on as well. This one, however, will be tough to part with. It's not in the best condition, and it is a Simplicity print pattern. I love the bust line on this, how it's fitted to the waist with little buttons, and then it's gathered under the bust. It has sleeve shapes with darts, but it's got quite a bit of ruching and gathering at the front, which isn't the most flattering on me. So again, probably one I'm going to pass on, but a really, really cute design. I hope it goes to a good home. This one, however, I think I will be keeping, and this is a 1950s pattern from Vogue. Looks to be in very good condition. It's in a size 18, and this has the ruching underneath the bust, but it's got a more interesting neckline in my opinion, and it's also got this interesting shaped yoke or waist portion. It's kind of in a zigzag, and then it narrows down to nothing at the waist, so the back is completely smooth and separate. And it's got a gored skirt, which I find tends to be really, really flattering, and it looks like it's in really good shape. So this one I will probably be holding on to, because I could see myself wearing this, and again, it's a pattern that you could make out of a lightweight cotton and have it be appropriate for summer, or you could do it out of the satin and have it be really jazzy and appropriate for the evening. This is a dewberry pattern, which you don't see too many of, and it's quite long-waisted, and it's got a few different neckline options. This is probably mid-40s, I'd say, based on the shorter length, or it's just made for someone who is not more petite, someone who's younger. But it's a sweet design. It's just not one that I super love, so that one I'll be passing on. It looks very, very simple though, just 5 pieces. I love this one. I feel like this is one that could look very modern. It's got a zigzag placket down the front that buttons closed. It has an option with drop shoulders or off the shoulders. It looks like dolman sleeves with the short sleeved option, but with the longer sleeved option, you actually set sleeves into the dolman sleeves and you get this billowy effect that I think is just stunning. Again, it's got a rectangular skirt, or what I'm assuming is a rectangular skirt. Yep, with gathers at the waist. Just a darling design, but not one I really think I would wear, so that'll be passed on, but how cute. This is a Simplicity pattern which has been through a lot. It looks like the cover is so damaged they opted to tape it to a piece of cardboard, which I don't necessarily condone, but it is what it is. And this is for a 38-inch waist and 37-inch hips. Not a design I will really wear, but it's quite interesting because it has this little detachable piece that you can add to create a peplum. Here we have a companion butterick pattern in a size 12, so it's for a 30-inch bust. I love the lines of this. If this was in a larger size, I would definitely keep it. I like how it has these longer seams that fit from the shoulder to the hem, but then it ends just underneath the bust at the front, and the bust itself is shaped with gathers. Really darling, and even her shoes are cute, but too small for me. This is a reproduction pattern, but not one I've seen before. It's clearly been through some stuff with all of the ink on it, but some of the rare reproduction patterns can actually go for quite a bit, and this one isn't one that I really want to keep in my stash, so I'll be selling that. This is an advanced pattern in a size 13. I love this dress so much. I think it is so cute with all of the daisies on it. Please, whoever ends up getting this, recreate this dress down to every detail because it's darling. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite pattern artworks I think I've ever seen. But it's a size 13. I'm just not going to go through the effort of altering a 31-inch bust to fit me. But really, really cute. Like, the more I look at it, the more I want to keep it, but bad Angie, don't do that. Here we have a Simplicity pattern with no envelope. It's a cute, simple design for size 14, so that's for a 32-inch bust, and the pieces actually look to be in pretty good shape. It looks like it might be factory folded. I wonder what happened to its envelope. Kind of a mystery. Here we have a Simplicity pattern for an evening frock. I'd put this at mid-40s given the shorter length of the skirt, which would have come about with World War II fabric rationings. I like the bows on this, but other than that, it doesn't really appeal to me as a style, so I'll be passing this on. Looks to be an okay shape, but it feels puffy, like the pieces have definitely been unfolded and used before. But it's definitely an interesting kind of swag design at the front. Look at the shape of that piece. Very unique. And then these guys are all mail order patterns, which means they're tucked away in their envelopes. So it's a bit of surprise what will be in them. This is a size 11 mid for late 1950s day dress pattern with a bolero, and it's cute, just too small for me. This is an international designer pattern, which I've never seen that brand before. And this is what it looks like. So it is an Ellie Creech, crutch pattern. I'm gonna have to do some research on this before selling it because I've never seen that brand before, but it's a drop-waisted 1950s design in a size 13. This is an Ann Adams pattern, but I guess it's before they started putting Ann Adams branding on the instruction manual itself. It looks like a 1930s design, maybe, for a relatively simple house dress with both short sleeve and long sleeve options. And I do really like the tulip pockets that they have there. And I don't see what size it's in. The instructions are in pretty poor shape, which is unfortunate. Like, very poor shape. So I'm not going to open it up too much right now, but I will try and figure out what size it is prior to selling it. And this is a sew right pattern in a size 20 for this Asian style dress, I would say, which was kind of popular in the 50s. So that's probably when it's from. It's a cute style, just definitely not something I'd personally wear. And the instructions are printed on a thicker white paper, which I haven't seen before. And I was gonna say that's factory folded, but I see a little bit of tape on the piece there, so I guess not. That's why it's important to count patterns even when you think they're factory folded, because sometimes they've just been really nicely refolded, but are not, in fact, factory folded, which means they could be missing pieces. So that is the end of this lot. I definitely overpaid on this lot, but I was willing to because I was so personally attached and invested in some of the patterns, which I think is kind of a bad thing to do when you're interested in reselling the patterns. But this other lot I paid $40 for, and I think I'm definitely going to be able to quadruple my investment on it. So I should be able to kind of make up for the fact that I overpaid for this one, or at least that is my hope. So this one I removed from the box before bringing it inside, just because I didn't want any potentially infected Corona cardboard coming into the house, but I haven't taken a really good look through these patterns just yet, so we can do that together. And this lot, as I said, was $40. It was probably more than $40 including shipping. I'll put the full price on screen. There were a few patterns in here that I loved, but I thought were too small for me, so I wasn't going to buy it, but then the seller sent me an offer immediately after I added it to my watch list, and then I sent them an offer back, and I ended up getting it for, I think, like 60% of the price it was listed for, which was just too good of a deal for me to pass up. And the reason I was kind of hesitant about this lot was because, as I said, the patterns are mostly too small for me, so I can't just add them into my collection if they don't sell. And there are also quite a few patterns from the 70s and 80s in here which hold almost no value, but I'm hoping that the 1940s patterns in here can kind of make up for that, because some of them did look quite rare. Right on top here we have a Simplicity pattern from the 40s. This is for a girdle and suspender set, as well as a pocket set and a hat and a dicky, if I am correct. So you have quite a few different options here, and it also has a guide for the embroidery enclosed, or at least it should. So this is in pretty poor shape, so I don't know if all the pieces are going to be there, but I'm sure someone would be interested in purchasing this. Then we have a clearly used pattern from the 70s by Simplicity. We have a pattern for various vests that looks unused from Vogue from the 80s, a suit pattern from the 90s, another suit pattern from the 90s, but this one looks factory folded, so perhaps it could be sold. And then we have this really cool, like, I totally wish this was in my size, Women's Day pattern, a size 14, so for a 32-inch bust. This has dolman sleeves and a really interesting closure method down the front. It's got like a half lapel and a half more traditional style collar. I just love it. I think it's so unique and interesting, and I can't wait to see this made up by someone. There's no information on the back, but it feels like it might be complete. I'm really hoping it's complete, because this really is so cool and unlike anything I've seen before. This is a damaged or well-loved, depending on how you want to look at it, advanced pattern in a size 12, so it is for a 30-inch bust. This has darts to shape the neckline, and it's a really cute, really flattering design. The envelope is in pretty poor condition, so I don't know how much this would sell for, but it's a sweet design nonetheless. And it actually has dolman sleeves, which I didn't realize. That's kind of interesting. It doesn't look that way at a glance, but this pattern has a gusset instead of traditionally sewn on sleeves. Another accessory pattern here, this one is for collars, but there is also an option for a hat, so that's interesting. You can see the various different patterns they have included there, and this feels like it might actually be factory folded. It's in pretty good shape. I've never purchased accessory patterns before, so I don't really know what the demand for them is like, but I'm sure someone wants them out there. This is what feels like a very well-used Simplicity pattern. It's a printed pattern, and if I recall correctly, this is a pattern that has been reproduced, so you can purchase a reproduction version of this from Simplicity now. And what's interesting about it is that it ties and buttons at the sides, but it opens up completely flat, which is good for ironing, as they so clearly say on the envelope. So those are all the different options you can make from it. This is a mail order American Weekly pattern, so I have no idea what's in there. Let's open it. Watch like a spider come out. That'd be funny. Not for me, but for you. It is a Marianne Martin apron pattern in a size 12. So no real interest in keeping that for myself, but maybe it will go for a few bucks. This feels like a factory folded fabric pattern for the 90s. It is in a size 14. I actually kind of like this style. Like, I'd still wear this outfit today, I think, with like the shoes and the socks and everything, but that's too small for me, so I won't be holding on to it. Okay, here we have one of the stars of this lot. So this is an advanced import adaptation pattern, and I've actually never seen one of these before. I couldn't find very much about them online, so I might actually ask in a Facebook group I'm in. But look at what a boss this lady is. I love her giant bow. I love the giant collar. I love the cuffs on the sleeves. It's so stylish and so cool. So it's made for a 32-inch bust and a 26-inch waist, and it probably wouldn't even really fit me, but this one I feel like might be worth altering to make it fit me because it's just so gorgeous. And this is much larger than traditional pattern. There is the Simplicity pattern for scale, so it's almost twice the size. But it needs to be twice the size to contain all of this awesome, clearly. And just taking a little peek, it looks like the pattern is in pretty good condition. It looks like the instructions are in pretty good condition too. So now that I'm like just taking a little peek at the instructions, they look so complicated. I hate advanced patterns so much, but it is such a pretty design. I definitely want to keep this one, or at least I'm highly likely going to keep this one. And then this next one, I didn't even know was included. This is a budget design, and I think it probably originally had a clear window here or something, but it's gone, and the back is completely white. So I think this was flipped over in the listing and I didn't see it. But oh my god, I would have bought this lot just for this pattern. Look at this. This is a size 16, so it could theoretically fit me with a few alterations because it's made for 37-inch hips, but I could manage it. But look at this. It is so cute. It's a side closing romper with an optional overskirt and 2 pockets and a mandarin style collar, and I love it so much. I want to wear it so much. I do have to consider whether or not I would actually wear something like that ever, and if I decide that I wouldn't, then perhaps I will sell it. But right now I'm really leaning towards keeping it because it looks factory folded and it looks so gorgeous. I love play suits in theory so much, and I'm just overjoyed with the fact that this was included because I think it's adorable. Everything's gonna seem so boring now compared to that, but this is a McCall's pattern. It doesn't feel like it's in a very good shape. The envelope doesn't look to be in very good shape, but it's a cute dolman style sleeve blouse pattern that has a gusset to provide more mobility under the arm. So very cute pattern. I'd actually consider keeping that just as like a simple blouse pattern to have in my stash. Though, even though you don't have to set a sleeve, I feel like a gusset is almost worse to deal with than setting a sleeve. So perhaps that is when I will pass on. More stuff in the 90s that appears factory folded. This is actually kind of a cute design that might sell for something, but this one will probably just be an add-on item. Actually, we have a few more Vogue American designer patterns, so perhaps these could sell as a lot. This one's quite cute as well, and even so is this one. These are all kind of modern looking, even though they're from the 90s, I would guess, based on the makeup. And then we have a very thorough looking straight skirt pattern with several different options. But there are 2 of these larger Simplicity patterns in here as well. This one, if it was in my size, I would keep. It is a size 14 Simplicity Designers pattern. There's masking tape around all of the edges, so it has clearly led a rough life. It's got this really cute scallop detail around the neckline that I just love. It's got little gathers instead of a side dart to provide space for the bust, and it's got little scallops around the pocket too. I really hope this is complete so someone can buy it and make it because it is just darling. It's just too small for me. This one's really cute and unique as well. This is a fully printed cover, which I haven't seen before. It's in a size 14, so it's for a 32-inch bust. And it's got this really interesting kind of pocket on the front and then a flap that attaches over the buttons that keep the pockets closed to close the pockets. I don't really know what's up with that, but I'm kind of into it. And then it has this interesting top-stitched sleeve and a little mandarin collar as well. I can definitely see someone rocking this, even with those sunglasses. Like, that's such a look. And that hair with like the wing sides, I love it. But it's too small for me and it's kind of weird, so I don't think I'll be keeping it. Even though I love weird patterns generally, it's just not my type of weird. This is another pattern from the 80s. More from the 80s, so this one feels factory folded. More from the 80s, probably also factory folded. More from the 80s. I'm not sure when this is from, maybe 70s, early 80s, I don't know. It's a quick sew pattern though. Gonna have to do a little bit more research on that, but not one I'm gonna be keeping. We have this one from the 70s, this one from the 70s, and then a few more vintage ones. So this is a small pattern from Butterick that looks like it might be factory folded, even though the envelope is quite tattered, and it's for several different options of blouses, which are all pretty darling. And I would guess that this is from the early 40s. Another really cute McCall's pattern that has top stitched set-in sleeves and kind of an interesting shaping and yoke down the front. This one does not look factory folded. It looks like it's been used, but it looks well preserved. So even though the envelope's kind of rough, hopefully someone can buy it and enjoy that. And that is what it looks like from the back. Then the last one is actually, I think, a pretty common pattern because I've seen this one online before. It's again in pretty rough shape, but hopefully the patterns are okay. It's a size 14, so it's made for a 32-inch bust. And this is a vest pattern, a blouse pattern, and a skirt pattern, if I recall correctly. Oh, it doesn't have the blouse. It's just a vest and skirt pattern, but still pretty cute. So that is that lot. There are some really nice 50s patterns in there, but I'd say that these are the real star of the show, and these are what really motivated me to purchase this. And these are the kind of larger designer patterns that were included. Aren't they just dreamy? So I think the entire lot was probably worth it just for these. If I sell each of these for $15, then that's making my money back. But as I've said, I think I'm going to hold on to 2 of these because I love them very much. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was kind of weird for this channel, but if you enjoyed it, let me know because I'd love to make more of these in the future. I do have a few more pattern lots on the way, as well as one that I've already kind of gone through and priced out and will be, I think, quadrupling my money on. So even though these pattern lots weren't necessarily the best value, they did have some really great patterns in there that were exciting for me to open and will be exciting for me to use, as well as some that will be exciting to sell and hopefully exciting for whoever ends up buying them. So I hope you enjoyed going through this with me. If you'd like a follow-up video where I either open more patterns or where I go through these and count them and price them and you can see a little bit of that process, then let me know because I could definitely film that. And if you're interested in purchasing any of these, make sure to follow the Etsy account at Counted and Curated and also follow the corresponding Instagram account. They'll both be linked down below and these guys should be listed on there very soon. So thanks so much for watching and I'll talk to all of you very soon.